So, what I want to say about all of that is that I hardly do any of it. It is literally done by the amazing staff at GIA. I believe for the past 2 years that we've put a team together at GIA that is outstanding and who are there to help you whenever you ask. That's our job. That's our purpose. I am grateful each day to work with such talented and dedicated individuals, and I'd like to introduce them now. And if they're in the room, if you'd stand up or wave from the back or whatever, they're probably out in registration. Jan Bailey, who is our Director of Finance and Operations. Martine Meredith Collier, who's the Director of Development and Membership. Kitsy Roberts, Development and Membership Associate. Abigail Gay, our new Program Manager. Kevin Klein, sorry. I worked with Kevin Klein once. You know, these things come up in your head when you get old, you haven't no, whatever. Sorry, not Kevin. Steve Klein. Web and Knowledge Manager. Steve Klein, our Web and Knowledge Manager, and then Heidi Norgard, you can hardly not say Heidi Norgard without making it sound like she's from Minnesota. Heidi Norgard, who we love, who is just a fabulous new administrative assistant for us. So, and then of course, we have Tomer Peterson, Deputy Director and Director of Programs, who well, I have to say, manages these conferences with the same ease and grace that he costumes the office toads. And you can talk to him about that later. Office Toads, that's T-O-A-D-S, Toads. So please give them all a round of applause. And I'll have to say that I am blessed to work with a board of directors that represents every segment of our membership. And they represent you very well. I won't list them all by name. They're in your program, but I'm going to ask them all to stand right now, if they would, please. Great. Thank you. And I'd like them to remain standing. This is the only time I get to punish my board. It's great. Remain standing until I tell you. No. Remain standing. Since none of us walks alone, and our work always builds on the work of those who came before us, I'd like to ask all those who have ever served on the GIA board to stand with those who serve today, and thank you all so very much for your time and service. So this is only my second year as Executive Director of Grantmakers in the Arts, and I'm already in term limit depression. We are losing some amazing board members who have participated over and beyond what we've asked them to do. I want to personally thank Bill Aguado for filling in for a short term on the board this year. I've known Bill for many years, and the world is just now catching up with some of the innovative programs that he developed in the Bronx decades ago. Bill, thank you. And I want to thank 4 incredible women who have given 6 years, and one of them 7, to this organization. They have not just showed up faithfully for board meetings, they have chaired committees, they have chaired conferences, and they have taken leadership roles as officers, chairs, and they have guided me through a steep learning curve. All this while being role models of what is best about philanthropy. Frances Phillips, the Walter and Elise Haas Foundation, who will remain co-editor of The Reader. Thank God, Frances. Yeah, stand up. And who will also always be there to give her calming advice. Angie Kim, previously of the Getty Foundation and now with Southern California Grantmakers, who has served as vice president and wrestled with the beast for a few years, that has been the nominating committee. And thank you, Angie. Olive Mosier, William Penn Foundation. Just let me see, what can I say about Olive? Olive Mosier, where are you, Olive? Olive Mosier, who I've known for 25 years, who has always been a truth speaker. And for anyone who's worked with Olive, sometimes it's painful, but it's always right. And I want to thank her so much for her service on the board. And finally, Vicki Benson, the McKnight Foundation, who stayed on the board an extra year to get us through this transition, who chaired the search committee, and who has been an inspiration to me as I've watched her gently, I want to say this so that slowly, as I've watched her gently move mountains without fanfare and bravado. So unlike me. And such an inspiration to me. Thank you. Okay, that's it for me. Angie will come up and talk about our newly elected board members and introduce our keynote speaker, Joy Ito. Thank you all so much.
Thank you, Janet, and thank you, everyone. As your outgoing vice chair and outgoing nominating and governance chair, I want to express how privileged I feel to have been able to serve so many of you. I realize that most of you will not be privy to the inner workings of this board, and so I want to provide you with some insider perspective. For one thing, I doubt that any of you has ever heard a GIA board member say that this board is fun or easy. In fact, it is challenging. Each board member carries a unique perspective about what GIA should or shouldn't be doing, and we've had many discussions about interpreting its mission and its vision for the future. And at times we've had really lengthy conversations without clear answers in sight. Now, I would never accuse any of my fellow board members of filibustering. But let's just say that no one on this board has been shy about defending their ideas, especially, and I want you all to really know this, especially when we feel we represent viewpoints held by members outside of the board. But our challenge is to reach consensus is exactly right. It reflects a diversity of experiences and thoughts and contributes to well-considered decisions. We may not get everything right, but boy, we definitely talk a lot and think a lot about it. This is an extraordinary board in this way, and I'll definitely miss it. But ultimately, the credit of it rests with all of you, GIA's members, who have nominated thoughtful, careful doers and idea leaders. So please, as your outgoing nominating chair, I urge you to continue to be active in the nominating process because it really does matter. So at this point, I'm very pleased to introduce the incoming board members. Unfortunately, not all of them could make this conference. A number of them, before they even knew about the conference dates, had other board commitments of their own. But for those of you who are here, please stand when I call your names, and if everyone could just hold your applause until the end. We actually have quite a large class, relatively speaking. Arnie Fishbaugh is the Executive Director of the Montana Arts Council in Helena. Rohit Berman is the Director of Culture and Public Broadcasting at the MetLife Foundation in New York. Kristen Madsen, who is actually here, but she just had to run out to a board meeting of her own for this lunch segment, is the Senior Vice President of the Grammy Foundation based in Los Angeles. Eddie Torres, who will join us tomorrow, so please go up to him and introduce yourself to him and congratulate him tomorrow. He is the Associate Director of New York Opportunities at the Rockefeller Foundation in New York. And both of these wonderful ladies could not make it because of board commitments of their own, but Laura Aiden Packer is the Program Director of the Geraldine R. Dodge Foundation in New Jersey, and Margaret Reiser is the President of Harlan Charitable Trust in Atlanta. So please join me in congratulating and recognizing them.